Hey, what's up? It's Mr. Dean, and today we're taking a look at Mario Kart Wii. Well, kind of. So let's just cut to the chase. Mario Kart Wii is my favorite video game of all time. I fully intend on also making a video talking about why that is in the future, but for today I wanted to take a look at modding in Mario Kart Wii and how it has developed over the years. Just for context, modding put simply is modifying the code of a game, so passionate fans of a game may go into the framework of said game and add things to it or change things up. This is a thing for practically any game of all time, and it has shown to be one of the most important things to keeping the player base of a game alive. So in the case of Mario Kart, that could be adding custom-made characters, textures, music, entirely new tracks, or just other various features in. As we will discover in this video, the things that modders have pulled off in Mario Kart Wii is actually kind of ridiculous. Also, I want to go ahead and make a few pointers before we go knee-deep into this joyride through Mario Kart Wii modding. First of all, credit for the content showed in this video goes to the original creators of the mods. I will specify who made what in the video too. All this stuff takes a lot of hard work to pull off, so full respect and props goes to them. Secondly, as hard as I worked to make this video a comprehensive run through Mario Kart Wii modding, there is so much that has happened since 2009 that I was bound to forget things or leave things out. If there's anything that you feel is not in the video that is important, feel free to say so in the comments, as I would love for this video to be a forum for the documentation of how far modding has come in this game. Finally, I want to go ahead and give a special thank you to Mario Power 55, Mayro, ZPL, Strobenz, Cibles, JorisMKW, and Mr. Bean 35,000 VR for helping me make this video. You'll be hearing from them soon enough though. Okay, 2009, while I was busy learning the alphabet in preschool, people were already making attempts at adding new stuff to this game. It's in this year where some prominent people in the modding scene begin to pop up. Right away we got Mr. Bean 35,000 VR making texture hacks for tracks such as Luigi's Volcano Raceway, which replaces the textures for Luigi's Circuit. Another iconic Mr. Bean texture from this time is also Wario's Space Mine for Wario's Gold Mine. This being made all the way back on January 24th, 2009. Neither of these would be the first texture hack though, as that dates back to December 27th, 2008 with a texture hack called SNES Mario's Sandpit 3. It was also around this time that the SZS modifier was made by chatters, and it allowed people to edit the course files, which were SCS files, much easier. Also, Mr. Bean would go wild messing around hacking on a Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, using things like item hacks and so on. This is also where he got his name too, hacking the VR counter, which normally peaked at 9,999 to 35,000. Also around this time the first speed hack was made, increasing the in-game driving speed to roughly 200 km/h, and since the game wasn't designed for it, most tracks were a little bonkers on it, but it was fun. It wasn't too long in 2009 before the ability to make fully customized tracks was possible as well. Once again, Mr. Bean 35,000 VR was back at it alongside chatters, making the first ever custom track Test Circle on March 1st, 2009. As the name suggested, this was a very primitive and bare bones type of track, taking place fully on a small flat circular blue road. Funny enough, there were also random umbrellas and crabs too, just acting as obstacles. Was this some mind-blowing creation that was just as quality as the base game tracks? No, but it was the first step in a fascinating road to what custom track creation is today. Just 29 days later on March 30th, Mr. Bean and chatters would team up again to make Lava Canyon, which once again is nothing jaw-dropping, but it is a big step forward from Test Circle. Now there is a bit more of a theme to the track, although the visuals were still a work in progress. This was also before CPU pathing was possible, so you could only play this one on time trials. Much else of what was worked on in 2009 consisted of similar hacks to these. However, the next custom track would not come all the way until December with Mushroom Peaks. This was a massive step forward in the modding scene. This was the first track to make use of more advanced elements like mushrooms and proper boost panels. To this day, this track is extremely relevant. In a way, it's kind of like the godfather of all custom tracks that were to come. Also around this time, a recreation of SNES Rainbow Road was made, which although it lacked the fidelity of the original, it was in the OG class of Mario Kart Wii custom made tracks. Also, fun fact, custom tracks made in this year were made with Microsoft Paint alongside the SCS file modifier, which is just beyond crazy to me. 2009 was more so about planting the seeds for the future of Mario Kart Wii modding, so let's see how those seeds would begin to sprout in 2010. Okay, March 2010, we got our first custom / texture hack distribution called Custom Mario Kart Wii with a K by Robits. Basically, a custom track distribution is a set of priorly made custom or texture hacks that either replace the tracks from the base game or are added on in addition to the base game. So here we got some texture hacks and custom tracks replacing the tracks that were originally in Mario Kart Wii. Also, March of 2010, we have the introduction of a software called Revolution, which allowed people to put an SD card into their Wii and trick the Wii into loading up custom-made files from the SD card instead of the files for whatever game was inserted into their Wii. Long story short, this allowed for people to easily mod games where originally it had been much more arduous and less accessible. So for the purposes of Mario Kart Wii, you can download a custom track, put it on your SD card, and rename it to the file name of any base game track. So for instance, if you wanted to replace Luigi Circuit, you rename the file to Beginner Course, put it into your Wii, and bam, you got a custom track replacing Luigi Circuit. Finally, towards the end of 2010 in October, Mr. Bean and Shatters created a custom track distribution called Custom Track Grand Prix, also known as CTGP. This will not be the last time we talk about CTGP in this video, so a lot of cool stuff was going to be added as they updated it. Originally, CTGP was just replacing the original base game tracks. Well, everything except for Koopa Cape, DS Desert Hills, SNES Ghost Valley 2, and N64 Bowser's Castle. Back in the day, two modders made it so you could play custom tracks online in friend rooms using a Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, which is really cool. I will say though that it was around this time that a lot of people started hacking in regular rooms on the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, which it was not rare at all to find a hacker in public lobbies. Okay, let's talk about what some of the custom tracks made in 2010 were like. Once again, let me reiterate that this is not every single custom track made in 2010. If I went over every single one, we would be here all day. Also, sorry if I butcher any of these names. Codename Big Box by Gilman. Similarly to Test Circle, this was just a rudimentary shape with pretty bare bone visuals, more so another step forward in designing a track. Chomp Valley by Mr. Bean 35000 VR and Shatters. We definitely got more going on here visually, and also a Ravage Chain Chomp going 500 miles an hour, which is f***ing mortifying. ASDF Course by Gilman. This is another one that is still pretty well known to this day. Same story as the other tracks, it's pretty primitive compared to what we got going on today. Sunset Forest by Harriman. This one has received a pretty big visual upgrade years later, but originally it was still a really iconic track. This was yet another one with more going on visually, with trees and grass and even a mushroom section. Green Hill Zone by Meep and Meta Knight 2550. Here we got a track inspired by the iconic Sonic level, this one being the main precursor to the multitude of tracks that have been released based on other IPs. Incendia Castle by Mr. Bean 35000 VR and Shatters. Yet another track that's still relevant today. Here we got a track where all 3 laps change, which looking back, this is absolutely ludicrous that it was made this far back. It's so ahead of its time. Wario's Lair by Thondam. This one is easily one of the hardest tracks that was made in this era. Crazy windy turns and fireballs aplenty await here. Resway by Trent Rez. I vividly remember seeing this track on YouTube way back in the day. One of the big nostalgia tracks coming from this year for me. Haunted Woods by Thondam. Getting us started with the spooky genre of custom track, we got Haunted Woods, this being another one of the longer and more challenging tracks. Cartwood Creek by Rich Petty. This was the first custom track to utilize a 3D model of a house, so progress was really starting to show here. Yoshi Lagoon by Yoshiller. Probably my favorite mushroom-based track that was made in this year. Something about the layout was always iconic to me. Fishdom Island by Big Auto 2. Another classic custom track here taking place on a beachy cliffside. Delfino Island by Volcanus 2. One of my personal favorite custom tracks of all time, specifically because I'm good at it. This is one of those that if you know what you are doing, then you break away. This is because of the crazy shroomless shortcut on the pier, which if you know, then you know. Volcanic Skyway by Big Auto 2. The beginning of the series of Volcanic Skyway tracks, it is exactly what the name suggests. The Skyway and a volcano themed track merged into one. Kinoko Cave by Igor Sebra 4. Finally rounding out the 2010 tracks, we got another one with fun shortcuts and strats thrown in that can separate a new player from a seasoned player very easily. It is easy to see how in just 1 year, modding in this game went from the primitive stages of just figuring out how exactly to put a track together to actually creating tracks that would still be iconic years later. Once again, nothing here may have replicated the quality of Nintendo's original offerings, but it was still loads of fun just to mess around with entirely new tracks. So will 2011 be just as much of a step forward? Okay, in early 2011, we got another massive advancement in the modding world with the creation of the custom Mario Kart Wiiki. This was and still is a website that actively updates with mods that users create, so it's been an incredibly useful tool for either publishing one's mods or finding ones you want to download. Also, CTGP gets updated on March 1st, including all the base game tracks and different slots for new tracks. So basically in total we got an additional 16 tracks on top of what CTGP originally had. And finally on October 2nd, 2011 we have the introduction of CTGP Revolution, easily the biggest update up to this point in our timeline. Now you have all 32 base game tracks in addition to a total of 100 custom tracks that were playable among various other features. Now there was an entirely new menu system with new cups and everything, which was an ingenious way of organizing the multitude of custom custom tracks. Also, you could race on custom tracks online, with this still making use of the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection at the time. And once again, on December 27th, we would get the slightly late Christmas present of CTGP Revolution version 1.01 with the addition of another 24 tracks. As far as other stuff going on in the community, Troy aka TWD98 started the series Rate That Custom Track, where he and his friend Justin would play a handful of custom tracks in each video and rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. Of course, it wouldn't be rare for Justin to break this rating scale with ridiculous ratings, but that's aside the point. This series was actually where I first started watching Mario Kart Wii custom tracks on YouTube, so I had to throw it in there for that reason. This series was also really cool for showing the zany side of these tracks, as many of them were much more glitchy than the base game tracks, which in my opinion wasn't even really a bad thing. Alright, custom tracks made in 2011, let's get into these. Daisy's Palace by Volcanus 2. The biggest thing I remember about this track is the ludicrous turn towards the beginning and the broken intended shortcut towards the end. Six King Labyrinth by Mr. Bean 35,000 VR and Chatters. Okay, we got a very iconic track here, being an entire maze where if you were a new player, then good luck. I always thought this one was really charming for some reason, maybe it's just nostalgia, but it's just a really creative concept. Lava Flow Volcano by Meta Knight 2550. Another track that I vividly remember from Rate That Custom Track, where you just revolve around a massive volcano. Pipe Underworld by Big Otto 2. Anybody who played CTGP way back in the day knows how insane this track is. And it was the fun kind of glitchy to where it was still fun to race on the track as well. Khalideh Desert by Bjorn. This is the definition of a glitchy wonderland of a custom track. The ramps send you flying and it is so majestic. Rocky Cliff by Mr. Apple 35,000 VR. This one is just kind of a nice little decorated track that is fun to drive on and complete with a faceless wiggler. Thunder City by Big Otto 2. Now we got our first track to utilize C tools in order to be made, taking place in a nighttime city. Sky Courtyard by Strobenz. Here we got the first custom track to discover off-road being trickable, so big stuff here. Misty Ruins by Volcanus 2. I don't know if this track is supposed to, but it always gave me Zelda vibes, which is never a bad thing, and it always played well too. Water Island by Luigi M. Another track that I always had nostalgia with, since its layout was pretty fun and you get this fun pipe-shaped area where driving is just completely bonkers. Rooster Island by Jeffy. A classic from the OG custom track era. Man, the turns on this thing are brutal. I forgot about how sharp some of these are. Sunset Ridge by Volcanus 2 and Big Otto 2. Honestly, to this day, this is still one of the greatest custom tracks of all time. It visually looks good, especially for its time, and it plays really well. Petit Park by Bullets, World's Boss, and Talk. Visually, this is still a very unique track. The yellow road next to the bright green texture looks awesome to me, I love it. Strobenz Desert by Strobenz. Finally, we got Strobenz Desert, which if you are unfamiliar with the layout, then good luck racing on this thing. It's a great track, but the invisible roads definitely makes it more challenging than a lot of the previously mentioned stuff. Okay, aside from specific custom tracks that were made in this year, we got CTGP Revolution being updated to version 1.02. So first off, we got 56 tracks being added, holy shit. They also added the option for blue shells to be draggable, which after seeing this, I can't believe this wasn't already a feature in Mario Kart. Also, there was a Wi-Fi timer added in order to add some order to how long these races went on for. A speedometer was added, which once again, why Nintendo took this away after Double Dash still makes me thoroughly upset. Also, by clicking plus on the track selection, now you can randomly select a track, which I love this feature, it's a lot of fun. Also, this was the year Nintendo released the Wii U as their first ever HD system, and thankfully it allowed for backwards compatibility with the Wii. Unfortunately, this left a big question mark with whether the original Wii modding communities would find a way to continue their work on the Wii U and for people to play it. Well, it was discovered by Mr. Bean and Chatters that they could use Super Smash Bros. Brawl and a program called Brawlbox to get CTGP working on the console. Man, those guys are wizards. One more thing, TWD98 would once again pump out more custom track content with the continuation of Rate That Custom Track and some videos that showed off shortcuts that were doable on specifically custom tracks. Also, the introduction of Brawlbox allowed for animation and custom tracks for the first time, this being around this time period. Okay, now as for specific tracks that were created in this year, we got a Quadrum Stage by Spy Kid. One of the most open tracks that has ever been conceived. The amount of different routes you can take is insane. I love the theme also of this being aquatic and then surrounded by a massive city in the background. Bouncy Farm by 4TL Pati. Here you go across a rigorous mushroom section, farmland, and a mini highway, so yeah, hectic is an understatement. Also, it's one lap, which complements its long length. Curio Raceway by Super Blooper Curio. We got, to my knowledge, the first really successful implementation of a loop in a custom track. Now there is a wall right after it, so high chances you crash into it, but the loop does add quite a bit. Coral Cape by Spy Kid. I don't know why I remember the layout of this one so well, but it just stuck to me. I like the textured mushrooms at the end too, they are pretty cool. Iceway by MKW Jason. Very short and to the point, but the way the track is closed in makes drifting around so satisfying. Seaside Resort by Luigi M. Another big one lap track. This one gives us a choice between a normal and underwater route at the beginning, a cave area, and a massive turn at the end. Fun stuff. Lunar Spaceway by Big Auto 2. To this day, still one of the greatest custom tracks of all time, both with the layout and the theme. Everything about it just plays really well, and I love the city section so much, it's awesome. Halogen Highway by Big Auto 2. Speaking of Big Auto 2 making tracks ahead of its time, Halogen Highway. Okay, yeah, this one is once again absolutely phenomenal and showed the pristine direction custom tracks were heading in. Justin's Box Track by Flaming Gamesify. Based on Justin's recommendations for his own track and Rate That Custom Track, we got quite the experience here. This makes Mario Kart 8's anti-gravity look like child's play with how bonkers driving on the walls are. Lakeside Hill by Spy Kid. Another classic due to its fun layout. I love this super long turn heading into the cannon in the middle of the track. Dreamworld Cloudway by Spy Kid. Yeah, I forgot to mention it before, but Spy Kid kind of went crazy in 2012. Another really pretty track that is impossible to not be happy playing. That's except for the chain jump and the electrical obstacle area, but it's still good. Wetland Woods by Volcanus 2. Once again, one of the coolest custom tracks ever made that is still great to this day. We got really beautiful misty visuals and a nice Koopa Cape-esque water section. District 65 by Strobenz. Finally closing out our 2012 tracks, we have maybe the craziest track I've ever played in my entire life. Seriously, good luck playing this whole thing without dying. With the advent of Mario Kart 8 releasing on the Wii U, it was uncertain at first how much of the Mario Kart Wii player base would stay loyal to, well, Mario Kart Wii. I mean, Mario Kart 8 had full online support and was the first game to be HD. Also, it introduced anti-gravity as a feature, which was a massive step forward for the series, allowing for track design never thought of before. Well, it was around this time that Mr. Bean showed off the speed modifier for CTGP, which allowed for custom tracks to be played faster than 150cc. I also want to point out that around this time, the YouTuber PK Sparks would do a playthrough of all the cups in CTGP, which did a lot to build up further popularity of the distribution. Also, if you aren't interested in the craziness that is entirely new custom tracks, then worry not, as the HD's Retro Pack was created, which included all customly made retro tracks that weren't in the base game. I should also mention that TWD98 had also been making top custom track lists throughout the previous years leading up to this, and in 2013 he made an entire top 50 custom track series split into 5 parts. This was massively popular and of course also helped to popularize the modding scene. Okay, drifting on to 2013, we got a brand new batch of custom tracks, so let's go ahead and get into those and see how the progress was coming along. Candy Coaster by Spy Kid. Another classic contribution by Spy Kid. Here we got a lovely drifting course through a candy wonderland. Sunset Raceway by Ermelber. This track did anti-gravity before Mario Kart 8 could even dream of doing it so well. Honestly, one of the first real examples of bending the game's physics successfully. Summer Starville by Spy Kid. Another really pretty summer-themed town track that drives well, enough said. Alpine Skyway by XBlue98. Definitely one of the more bizarre track layouts. It is really cool thematically, this just shows the zaniest of custom tracks in spades. Fireway by MKW Jason. Pretty simple fire-themed track that plays well enough. There are also some ramps on the sides occasionally that could be used as a risky shortcut. Abyssal Ruins by Chaos Shadow 23. Taking place way in the deep ocean, this is a stellar track that would get even better later on with a visual overhaul. Land of Purple Water by Ruka Pseudo 90. Taking the unique concept of implementing the poisoned water present in the 2D Mario games, this track just always stood out as a creative one to me. Moonlight Downtown by Wii Luigi. Really fun and vibrant one. Looking around, this was a really great visual track along with zipping through the skyscrapers. Volcanic Pipe Yard by Chaos Shadow 23. I feel like this is one of those tracks that you can just tell it's gonna be fire from the name. Nightmare to Dream World by XBlue98. The dichotomy of a nightmare and perfect dream world is brought about in this really cool custom track, and it still plays really well, not just the theming that's good here. Sunny Island by Spy Kid. Another Spy Kid offering here, we got a track with a speed mod, making it so zipping around the course feels unique compared to a lot of what else that is offered in custom tracks. Magnetic City by XBlue98. Man, this one is crazy. Getting the feeling of scaling up entire skyscrapers is a lot of fun, and it works out pretty well too. Windmill Village by Chaos Shadow Shadow 23. One of the more Nintendo-y custom tracks, this feels so well made that it adds a nice dynamic next to the craziness of a lot of other custom tracks. Speaking of Chaos Shadow, they are responsible for all the Super Circuit tracks being remade as custom tracks, so major props for that. Disco Fever by XBlue98. Finally, XBlue strikes again with Disco Fever, which gives me Electrodrome vibes from Mario Kart 8. Colorful and vibrant, this track is a lot of fun to play on. The onslaught of tracks that would be added to CTGP in version 1.03 was also unveiled at the end of 2013, and it was an absolute juggernaut of an update. As amazing as this was, the biggest challenge for the Mario Kart Wii modding community was on the horizon. Yeah, so the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection was shut down at the beginning of 2014, and at the time, this would mean the end of all online multiplayer for Wii games alongside the DS as well. This was a pretty big problem. I mean, without online connection, how could the community really thrive? This meant the inevitable end for both competitive and casual play. Well, a user going by the name of Weem had been analyzing a Nintendo Wi-Fi connection for a few years prior to its shutdown, so he immediately got to work on an entirely custom-made server called Weemfi. This was also alongside another user named Lezarede, and they would finally manage to get a beta up and running on May 3rd, 2014. And in the excitement for the continuation of Mario Kart Wii Online through Weemfi, Mr. Bean decided why the f not, and he made a whole new game mode. This new game mode would come to be known as Countdown, and it is still playable online today. In Countdown mode, you are up against the timer instead of simply just the lap count. Basically, you could hit other players with items to get points, there being a maximum of 10 points, and every point you get adds 3 seconds to the timer. Also, there were some new anti-cheat measures that were in place with Weemfi, such as requiring users to wait 7 full days in order to access the online mode. Also, CTGP Revolution would definitely no longer be the only prominent custom track distribution, as others would begin to sprout about offering their own roster of custom tracks. Among the most prevalent ones were Mario Kart Wii Hack Pack made by Huli, Wine CT Pack by Wine with the assistance of these, and Pro CT Pack by Philly G, AC, and a Pluma Freak 500. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, CTGP version 1.03 was released here and included a brand new anti-cheat system known as Ignorance is Bliss. It's still insane that also from here on out, CTGP would be able to be updated on its own on the Wii. So yes, a mod for a game contained an auto updater where not a single Wii game had the same feature. Alright, for custom tracks made in 2014, we got Celestial Ruins by Chaos Shadow 23. Similarly to Abyssal Ruins, this takes an aquatic vibe, but this time instead of being a deep sea, this is much more of an ancient debris feeling. Bayside Boulevard by Spy Kid. Half this track is in a town setting and the other half takes place on a beach, and they both play really well. This has always been a nice little track. River of Dreams by XBlue98. The complete opposite of a nice little track, this is a big long joyride of a Mario Kart course. The amount of environments we see is incredible. Some crazy work was done on this one. Cookie Village by Wee Luigi and Spy Kid. This is a village that is, well, candy and cookie themed. We got lots of 90-degree angles for the town section, which I've always thought plays well with inside drifting. Item Fireland by Kichi 1996. This is a cool one for taking a normally generic lava theme for a track and implementing different items in order to spice it up. Daisy Gardens by XBlue98. I still remember how pretty this track was and still is, and driving on it too is really fun, especially going through all the leaves. Jungle Ruins by Mr. E99. Once again, a pretty standard concept for a track made fun thanks to changing environments and fun textures and elements. Justin's Bridge Track by Spy Kid. Once again, based off of a classic Justin monologue from Rate That Custom Track, I think it's safe to say that Spy Kid nailed this. Canyon Run by Gred Maga. Another track with unbelievable visuals, like look at how good this looks. Skyline Avenue by Spy Kid. Playing the role of a fun nighttime city custom track, it also implements driving through a little casino building, which is pretty fun. Strobenz Desert 2 by Strobenz. Finally, for my custom track mentions of 2014, we got Strobenz Desert 2, which was controversial at the time as a result of how experimental it was, taking on an even more abstract style than the original. 2015 was a relatively chill year for massive revelations in the modding community, well aside from custom tracks of course. Around this time, Mr. Bean and Shatters were working on updates to how friend rooms worked, like making it so only the host needed to change settings, these being good quality of life fixes. As for custom tracks made in 2015, well, let's run through some. Crossingville by XBlue98. Inspired by Animal Crossing, this is a long and well-designed course. I like how the track diverges into either a water route or an on-land one. Wolf Castle Grounds by Spy Kid. Normally castle tracks are surrounded by lava and fire, but instead this one is a bit more tame, taking on a grass-inspired landscape. Desert Fort by JorisMKW. Super fun track that is incredibly well designed with alternative routes to avoid making it linear. Making good desert themed Mario Kart tracks is a tall order, but this one exceeds it with flying colors and piantas. Color Wonderland by Spy Kid. Super difficult track that, as seen by the name, is extremely vibrant and fun to look at. Twin Peaks by Such T93A. Yeah, everyone having fun till the train comes soaring by on the middle of the road. Now the race has gotten real. I love the dynamics of how the track starts out with the railroad and then turns into a nice grassland that through later updates would only get even more pretty. Comet Starway by Luigi. I have a habit of falling in love with space-themed racetracks, and this one easily carries the tradition. It just simply is fun to drive on and look at. Yoshi Mountain by IGMB. I mean, of course a Yoshi Mountain track is fun. This is a really long one, but I never really get bored racing on it. Super Sky Courtyard by Strobenz. Yeah, so this is an absolutely bonkers one that manages to be one of the most fun tracks to drive on that I have ever played. Seriously, this never-ending turn genuinely feels like being on a roller coaster. Melting Magma Melee by Such T93A. Another one of the custom tracks that is infamously unforgiving to new players. It plays that role really well, being so satisfying once you get the hang of it. Mansion of Madness by Such T93A. And once again, the same creator strikes again with another madhouse of a custom track. I love the inverted rainbow section at the end and the RNG goodness throughout the course. Also, this one is so crazy that it even has an epileptic warning on the Wiiki. Sea Stadium by Zachi. Okay, calming things down a bit from the previous three, we got Sea Stadium, a very uniform color palette that looks incredible. This is also the first truly successful use of a loop. Curio Raceway had one that worked before, but now it feels even more seamless than ever had before. Aura Metropolis by Spy Kid. I'm gonna be real, I forgot about just how many incredible custom tracks Spy Kid has made. Shout out to you if you are watching. Anyway, visually this is one of my favorites with how striking the blue color aura is. Also, driving here is a lot of fun with the way the road curves all over the place. The Rabbit Hole by Such T93A. Finally, for 2015, we have the Rabbit Hole, drawing massive inspiration from Alice in Wonderland. I like the trippy water section, the moving cards, and the massive table used as a shortcut. 2016 was the year where one glaring issue with CTGP was officially addressed, that being the lack of time trial support. Yes, after all these years of new game modes, hundreds of custom tracks, and custom menus, time trials was still a major question mark in CTGP, so finally it was time to do something about it. The answer was a brand new Ghost replay code that would be worked on and also would work on custom tracks, extended decimal placements for ghosts on custom tracks going all the way to 12 placements, and new ghosts would save to your SD card instead of the game itself. Also, a new leaderboard system was set in place both on the CTGP channel and online, so this was a complete overhaul of an update coming for time trials. While working on this update, Mr. Bean and Shatters also found code hidden within Mario Kart Wii that was intended to allow for 4 different ghosts to be played at once, so in theory this would allow for you to race against 3 different ghosts at the same time. And finally, the long-awaited time trial update to CTGP would come, adding the ghost section to the CTGP channel with the before mentioned updates. Even tracks in your My Stuff folder would have ghosts saved to them if you so desired. The ghost data was available online as well, and it was so much more in depth than it could have been, allowing for you to filter ghosts by controller type, vehicle used, regions, and whether the ghost was shroomless or not. And as if this was not already a grand enough upgrade to time trials, a brand new system was set in place, that being the star system. For every track, a maximum of 3 stars could be earned. A bronze star was awarded if you set a time on the track, a silver star if you beat the easy ghost on a track, and a gold star if you beat the expert staff ghost. All of this would finally release on July 29th, 2016, marking by far the biggest update to CTGP's code up to this point in time. Alright, custom track time. In 2016 we got Melody Sanctum by Spy Kid. Music Park in Mario Kart 7 was an incredible music themed track, and the magic was brought back in custom track form here. Although maybe a bit longer, the music theming makes this one once again a ton of fun to play through. Castle of Time by Mega Kart 69. Once again, this is another castle themed track, not surrounded by lava and Bowser inspired stuff, but instead it's much more grim feeling. I really like this change of pace for a castle track, it is quite nice. Kanoko Cave by Such T93A and Wingcat Man. Kanoko Cave had already long existed as a custom track, but in 2016 it was remade, and man, it is so damn pretty here. It went from being a fun layout with boring visuals to one of the standout tracks in all of custom tracks. Nightlife Party by Luigi. One theme that hasn't really been realized realizes a Mario Kart track is a party theme, well never mind as it exists now. The plethora of confetti and vibrant colors makes this one impossible to be upset on while racing. Wario's Lair by Luigi M. Once again, another remake of a classic custom track. We got Wario's Lair, changing it from being a grim and dark castle-like track into a beautiful stadium-esque design. Big Nature City by IGMB. As the name suggests, this takes the prototypical city concept and adds a fun spin to it, having half of the track being themed around, well, nature. Also, I like how the end of the track randomly has you go into this bizarre yellow-roaded spaceland. Tropical Factory by Sneaky. This is one of those long and well-designed tracks. Every single ramp here is so much fun to trick on. Cool Castle Canyon by Sneaky. Sneaky strikes again here, and trust me, it won't be the last time. This time it's a really fun mystical castle theme. It always gives great races. Desert Mushroom Ruins by Mr. E99. Another track that existed long before and was remade here. This gives it a much deserved graphical overhaul. Sky Grove by Sneaky. Ironically, this is one of the Sneaky tracks that I remember the least, and it's still incredible. Look at how pretty the nighttime grassland aesthetic is when also applied to it being in the sky. Dark Matter Shrine by Sneaky. This is a Rainbow Road-esque track that applies the unique concept of small squares on this jump that when hit cause you to nosedive straight back onto the track versus completing the jump like normal. Glimmer Express Trains by Sneaky. This one still blows my mind to this day. We traverse between two different trains both moving on a train track in real time. This animation even plays out mid-race and doesn't lag or anything. Imagine showing this concept to a custom track creator from 2010 and saying that this would eventually be possible. Flowery Greenhouse by Sneaky. Now Sneaky's efforts go towards bringing a greenhouse to life in Mario Kart form, and of course it just works out. The jumps are all as fun as usual, and this time around the half-pipe area is really satisfying to go through. Mushroom Island by Inkling 35000 VR and Sneaky. This takes the original by Big Auto 2 and turns it on its head, giving it a wonderful rainbow color palette that genuinely looks so amazing. This is the era where to me a lot of custom tracks finally started to truly rival the competence of base game tracks. Marble Towers by Sneaky. Finally ending out 2016, we have what is in my opinion one of the most brilliant concepts for a racetrack essentially ever. You are a marble that goes down a marble tower. How the f is this concept even thought of? Okay, let's take a look back at August 3rd, 2017 to the date when Mr. Bean 35000 VR found unused mission mode files in Mario Kart Wii. Yeah, so mission mode was a big feature in Mario Kart DS, putting you either on a track from the game or a small arena to complete a task instead of racing like normal. This was supposedly originally supposed to be in Mario Kart Wii, but instead it got turned into the tournament feature. Well, Mr. Bean uploaded a video of this on his YouTube channel, and yeah, this was kind of a big deal. See, mission mode is to this day one of the most revered and desired modes to make a return, and just like that, the prospect of being able to play it in Mario Kart Wii was there. TWD98 would also bring back his iconic Top 50 custom track series for 2017. Aside from that, we got some more track updates into CTGP. What kinds of custom tracks were made in 2017? Well, let's go ahead and get into that. Flying Kingdom by Spy Kid. This one continues the trend of tracks with animated backgrounds that are jaw-dropping, and the track itself is pretty challenging as well. Gothic Castle by Spy Kid and Sky. One of those really cool castle tracks that includes a massive turn and a diverted path, one of which leads to a half-pipe ramp that goes into a massive drop. Crystal Plains by Sneaky. Sneaky strikes again in 2017, and this time the ingenious concept of mechanics moving boost panels back and forth is implemented, as well as a wavy bridge using the same physics from Bowser's Castle. Spooky Swamp by Edward JW. As the name suggests, it is a spooky swamp that includes these cool circular board things that tricking between is really satisfying to do. Desktop Dash by Mr. E99. One of the most creative concepts for a racetrack. Here we race across a desktop setup with various appliances and Nintendo consoles and controllers. Volcanic Valley by Mega Kart 69. Here at first glance it may seem like a generic volcanic themed track, but halfway through the track reverses and has you facing the opposite direction until the end of the track. Lava Lake by JorisMKW. Simply put, this is one of the most well-designed tracks in all of custom tracks, between how the turns feel and how the end is treacherous and allows for late race comebacks. Final Grounds by Mega Kart 69. Here we got a combination of multiple previous custom tracks, Lost Fortress, Castle of Time, Castle of Darkness, and Volcanic Valley. It all blends together really seamlessly, so it works out a lot better than it may initially seem. Thwomp Swamp by Mr. E99. A nice little mystical and ambient type of thwomp track, similarly to Thwomp Ruins in that way. It plays well and even includes a nice little cave section. Festival Town by Wii Luigi. This one is a very pretty little town themed track, plays well and even has a few shortcuts thrown in to spice things up. Lunar Lights by Sneaky. To this day, there are a lot of people that regard this as one of the greatest custom tracks ever made. The length, design, and art style are just absolutely divine. Spike Desert by Sneaky. This is a remake of the original version that was made by Papo 2000, just basically overhauled the track visually in any way imaginable. Kamek's Library by Mr. E99. Finally, we have another great remake, this time being a visual overhaul of the original Kamek's Library by Ugo Town 35000 VR. So by this point, it may seem like the modding community has done everything possible to keep the game alive. I mean, like, what else could even be done? Yeah, well, Mr. Bean laughed at the idea of there being nothing left. Imagine a whole mode with total anarchy, items raining down from the skies. Item Rain. On May 16th, Item Rain would be officially added to CTGP, a mode that Mr. Bean and Chatters had been working on for several months prior to its release. Initially, it was in beta and only certain people could play around with it, but now it was officially a part of CTGP. Also, a user named Zach Ruff began working on a mod that allowed for all 32 of the base game tracks to be played on 200cc in a similar fashion to 200cc in Mario Kart 8. TWD98 proceeded to make a lot of content about 200cc in Mario Kart Wii, which of course proceeded to spur even further popularity with the game mode, so eventually that persuaded Mr. Bean to attempt to bring this mode into CTGP. One more thing, and this year the YouTuber KevinVG207 found secret code that seemed to suggest a hidden track in the game's files. The video he made about it explains it much better than I could, so I would highly recommend going and giving that a watch. Another thing, the YouTuber Nathaniel Bandy did a two-part series ranking his top 20 favorite custom tracks, which also helped greatly in boosting the popularity and notoriety of CTGP and the overall Mario Kart Wii modding landscape. Custom track wise in 2018, we got Underground Sky by Karen. This is a remake of the original by EC2 Joshi, same story as the other remakes. It takes the premise of the original and just completely overhauls it. Dragon Knight's Island by Such T93A and Redefy. As the name suggests, this is a Pokemon themed island, and aside from the theming being spectacular, it drives incredibly too, so nothing but good things to say here. Cotton Plant Forest by RZ. This is a nice forest with cotton floating in the air. Apparently it is based off of a My Little Pony episode 2 according to the Wiiki. Sunset Forest by KevinVG207 and Redefy. Remake of an OG custom track with a great visual and gameplay upgrade once again. Dragon Burying Grounds by Multi Mario Kart DS. Some of the deadliest lava theme obstacles await here in this death trap. I mean, seemingly this quite literally is where dragons go to die, so it's a pretty terrifying and pretty fun racetrack. Dawn Township by GU. This massive one-lap track is a massive romp through a fantasy town, complete with different sections in order to add dynamics to an otherwise consistent premise throughout. Lava Rocks by GU. I have a tendency to enjoy lava-themed tracks, and this carries the tradition, just once again great visuals and great gameplay. Unnamed Valley by Such T93A. This is yet another example of an old track being brought back. Man, here especially the visuals are just unbelievable. Boshi Skate Park by Luke Chandler. This one is themed around Super Mario RPG since that's where the Boshi character came from, and because I hated that minigame as a kid, but as a racetrack it's pretty stellar. Once again, one of those premises for a track that you would never have thought would work so well. Grassy Plains by ZPL and Jasper. Could not be more in line with what the name of the track is. This quite literally is some grassy plains. Looks great and plays great though. Luncheon Tour by Luke Chandler. Based on the Luncheon Kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey, Luncheon Tour manages to completely capture the magic from the original game in racetrack form. Some other attempts at making 3D Mario levels into a racetrack have not been as seamless, as it's really difficult, but this one defied the odds and nailed it. Unfinished Mario Circuit by GU. Once again, one of the most brilliant concepts for a track. Takes the generic spin of a Mario Circuit track and flips it on its head. Now we are driving on the track while it is being constructed, which is such a cool premise. Forest Creek by Oaken. I don't know why I always really like this one. Something about the vibe of the thick canopy of trees surrounding the racetrack just gets me. New Moon Manor by Sneaky. Yeah, so the animation of this track is actually kind of fucking insane. If DS Luigi's Mansion didn't exist, this would probably be a clear number 1 for haunted themed Mario Kart tracks, and even in my opinion it kinda gives that a run for its money. Conveyor Conundrum by Bree911. Now here we got another example of an unbelievably difficult track. It's definitely too difficult to be a very welcoming track for newcomers, but for what it is, it's a lot of fun. Sahara Hideout by ZPL, Jasper, and Golden RS. This kind of feels like a desert on anything but sobriety. This track is just bonkers. With how insane the progressions in the modding community had been in the years leading up to this, perhaps the most ambitious event would happen very early on in 2019 on March 3rd, with Mr. Bean uploading footage to his YouTube channel showing off 24 players in one race. Yeah, normally the cap in Mario Kart Wii is set to 12, so of course this was assumed to be a bit beyond the realm of possibility. There was a lot of build up to this moment. A month earlier he had uploaded footage of 13 players in one race, but it was extremely buggy and not really playable. Despite it initially being riddled with bugs, he kept working on it, bringing it up to 17 players and eventually breaking the limit and reaching 24 players all in one race. The most unbelievable part of this was how shockingly well it worked too. Sure, the game doesn't run nearly as seamlessly as 12 players, but items and scoring had actually seemed to have been modded pretty successfully in order to accommodate the extra players. This also did a ton to draw even more attention to the modding community as well. It was 24 players in a Mario Kart race. This was all people could talk about. And as if 24 wasn't enough, there was a stream done with 100 players, and although this definitely did not achieve the same level of fidelity that was accomplished with 24 players, it was still absolutely jaw-dropping. Unfortunately, the stream or footage of the stream no longer exists, so I cannot put it here, but it was unbelievable. 24 player at the time of writing has still not been successfully implemented into CTGP yet due to the code still being worked on, but it is one of the most exciting prospects of the Mario Kart modding community. Also around this time, the users Lezarede and Weem had been working on a project that would eventually turn into lay code. In simple terms, this was an overhaul to the coding mechanisms used with the in-game UI and functionality. CTGP also had its own thing like this called CT code. However, there were some glaring issues with CT code that lay code fixed. One major one was battle mode. CTGP originally was not allowing for battle mode functionality due to the codes with CT code, and lay code fixed that issue. As well, now the track limit was extended from 256 to 4028. Holy f. This was developed for Weem's distribution called Weem's Mario Kart Fun, but other distributions could utilize it as well. Unfortunately, Mr. Bean stated that implementing this into CTGP would most likely be impossible, but this was still a massive advancement in the modding scene. There was a massive hack into the CTGP online time trial leaderboards in late 2019, which challenged the previously thought to be impenetrable CTGP security. This resulted in the website being frozen until further notice, and then eventually it being patched up in order to prevent this from happening again in the future. I want to point out that it was also around this time where a channel by the name of Sawyer began to gain popularity in the modding community. The channel both showcased new custom tracks, posted time trial stuff, and my personal favorites were the 400cc videos. Finally, many brought up the idea of Mr. Bean utilizing Twitter in order to market CTGP and gain it more popularity, also to connect with the community easier. Mr. Bean never officially brought CTGP to Twitter, however this still seemed like a very useful way to bring about engagement with the community, so the user Cibles would take this on. Creating the Twitter account CTGP News and Updates, it is still being run to this day, notifying the community on Twitter anytime a CTGP update is brought on. Anyway, custom track time. In 2019 we got Hell Auto Mountain by Chaos Shadow 23 and Renegade Ciara. This took the concept for an old track called Hell Auto Mountain by Strobenz and flipped it on its head, turning it into a fiery hellstorm, and it was really interesting to play on in contrast. Luigi's Island by ZPL. Here we got the classic custom track by Harriman getting its due diligence of a visual overhaul that many other old custom tracks have been getting. Lunar Speedway by Jasper and ZPL. Once again, the Big Auto 2 classic is a great visual and functional upgrade. Toy Story by A Noob. As the name suggests, it is based on the popular movie franchise where you get to drive around Andy's room and it's as great as it sounds. Yoshi's Woolly Raceway by Aiden190903 and A Noob. Based on Yoshi's Woolly World, underrated game by the way, it incorporates the lovely art style into custom track form. Mushroom Mountain by Ferv. This is a recreation of Mushroom Peaks and it is so good. Honey Bee Hideout by Taco, Josh, and Redeffy. I mean, just look at it. Windy Whirl by Systems. This is based on the Windrunner minigame from We Play Motion, which I mentioned this in my video for We Play Motion, shameless plug by the way, but I love that minigame, so I love this track by association. Sky High Island by Jasper. Man, this track is gorgeous. It plays well too, don't get me wrong, but custom tracks were just getting to an unthought of point by now visually. Secluded Island by Karen. Another really pretty track. This is on a very isolated feeling island with minimal constructed set pieces, making it feel rather dreary compared to a lot of other tracks. Magmatic Sanctuary by ZPL, Jasper, and Ikaruso. Another visually stunning track, this time filled to the brim with lava, fire, and death. Sparkling Cavern by Rosalina Speedruns and Bear. Taking place in a railroad-themed cave system, I am a bit of a sucker for these settings, so I was already prone to liking this one. Now, as if the boundaries for modding in Mario Kart Wii had not already been pushed far enough, now all of a sudden the idea emerged of online time trials. That's right, on May 1st, a user named Melg released this mode as a mod using cheat codes in order to make it so instead of racing a ghost, you raced against another player in real time. Mr. Bean was suggested to add this feature into CTGP, and while it was initially declined, he decided that after completing 24 players, he would make it a priority to add into CTGP. Friend rooms on CTGP had also been updated in an attempt to better accommodate 24 players, so there was a lot going on in order to make these drastic ideas come to life. I'll go ahead and bring up the channel Mario Power 55 here as well. He had been uploading videos for a long time up to this point, but he resurfaced in order to upload showcases of custom tracks. In fact, please welcome Mario Power to commentate the rest of this segment.
Why, thank you, Mr. Dean. Very cool. Even though you're a Rangers fan, which I'll let that one slide, it's an honor for me to be a part of such an amazing project, especially since Mario Kart Wii is so close to me in my heart. So yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity. Anyway, I have been uploading custom track related content actively since 2020, where I showcase custom tracks and other mods in all the Mario Kart games. One example is a showcase of the top 100 custom tracks, a distribution made by all these people right here. Basically, this pack was released in mid-2020 through voting in order to put what was decided upon as 100 best custom tracks at the time all into one pack. I also have been doing a top 50 custom track video for each year since 2020, where I rank tracks specifically made in that year.
Holy shit, are you done plugging your own channel yet?
I'll go ahead and mention that before you were Mr. Dean, you uploaded a big top 100 custom track video in 2020, and it was pretty awesome.
Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore since this was on my old channel called Alarsis, but yeah, I'm glad I managed to sneak this into my modding timeline somewhere.
Well, other than the obvious elephant in the room here, this is what the Mario Kart Wii community cooked up this year. The overhaul to the friend room system in Custom Track Grand Prix was the main other modding related thing that happened in 2020. Basically, updates were put in place to help prevent disconnections within friend rooms, and just to overall, bring about a smoother experience. Also in 2020, this new thing called Custom Track Jams began, which were scheduled custom track making contests which would involve a theme and an allotted amount of time for the creators to make tracks based off of the theme. The channel is still active to this day, so that's there if you are interested. Custom track wise in 2020, let's see what we were working with. So starting off, we have one of my favorite custom tracks to get released in 2020, which is Siberian Chateau by Jasper, Golden RS, Tehran, and Nakdak. There aren't too many castle-like tracks that take on an icy theme instead of lava, and the fun design and obstacles really make this track stand out. And also, not to tamper the mood, but shortly before this track got released, Golden RS sadly passed away at age 21. This track will live on forever in our hearts, and rest in peace, Golden RS. Well, it's time to pack your bags because we're going to Camp Cardigan. This is a beautiful custom track made by Mr. Fluffy. I honestly wish there were more tracks like this after playing it. The whole concept of a nature and camping related park track is just too awesome. The visuals, the atmosphere, and the overall track design really revolutionized custom tracks as we know it. So this next track is called Stargaze Summit by Ferb. This one is a really pretty nighttime themed Arctic track, in a way almost feeling like a much better Frappe Snowland. Again, visuals are just unreal. Well, if you thought these last custom tracks were really good, wait until you see this one. This next track is called Garden of Dreams, which is made by Giyu. Easily one of the most vibrant and beautiful tracks ever conceived in Mario Kart games. I mean, these custom tracks are getting too out of hand. There is nothing like the tranquility of Sakura Sanctuary. This is a custom track made by Tehran and Jasper. This takes place on a similar style that was found on DS Peach Gardens in the base game, but applies heavy Japanese theming with the art style and set pieces, which is really cool. Up next, we have a custom track creator, Nate Fox's one and done banger of a track. Let me introduce you to the beautiful sunny coastline of Pianta Shores, where racers traverse a vibrant town totally inspired by Super Mario Sunshine, which combines familiar faces with a pretty beach segment. So this next track is pretty spooky. It's called Spectral Station, which is made by Mr. Fluffy once again. Haunted tracks tend to be a lot of fun in the form of Mario Kart tracks, and here we got that as well as the roaring train from Calamari Desert to avoid as a deadly obstacle. Up next we have Sarasha Kingdom by Altair Yoshi. Put quite simply, this is Daisy Circuit, but way better. Up next we have Astronomical Overdrive, a crazy track made by Jasper. Easily one of the coolest and wildest Rainbow Road-esque tracks that have been made in Mario Kart Wii. Stands right up there with Nintendo stuff. So we actually got a retro track in 2020, which is SNES Donut Plains 1 by ZPL. I wanted to throw this one into the mix just because of how impressive it is that SNES Donut Plains 1 actually was remade and it was not boring. Like actually, I know that's crazy because all SNES tracks are boring. Well, it's time to grab your swords and shields because we're going to Medieval Castle Grounds by JorisMKW and John Sambo himself, KHacker35000VR. We have already seen custom tracks take on a new theme for the castle setting, and once again, this does just that with a brand new aesthetic in order to keep the race fresh. This next track is very cozy, and it's Water Village by Bear. In 2020, this track received a visual overhaul and it looks absolutely spectacular. Okay, perfect for the winter, this next track is called Envenom Snowstorm by Luca. Here you drive through some ruins surrounded by a tundra setting and even dodge some purple fireballs. I think that is pretty awesome. Well, in space, you got Martians, Elon Musk, and Orbital Outpost, baby, by Ferv and Taco Josh. You get to drive through a space station, and it is a lot cooler than Mario Kart 8's Rainbow Road, which is saying a lot. This next track is called Jungle Glade by Citrus, once again carrying on the tradition of insane visuals. You drive on a winding road here through a beautiful canopy of trees, and it is awesome, dude. Speaking of the custom track jams, this next track might be the greatest custom track ever to come out of the whole competition. This next track is called Wario's Cosmic Construction by Altair Yoshi and Jaden MKW. My god, Dean, I'm going crazy. One of the coolest concepts for a track we've ever seen, taking Wario's gold mine and turning it into a construction site in space. I think that's cool as hell, dude. Once again, this is one of my favorite custom tracks to come out of 2020. It's Divine Paradise by ZPL. As the name suggests, we finally got paradise in the form of a Mario Kart track. There's really no other way to put it.
Alright, getting up to 2021, we have ZPL creating a custom track distribution known as Retro Rewind. Basically, the concept is similar to that of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, putting every Mario Kart track that has ever been made throughout the series into one distribution. Through updates, we got everything from Super Mario Kart tracks to Mario Kart 8 and even some Mario Kart Tour selections. Also, another massive thing that happened involved the YouTuber Arc Intel. In the couple of years leading up to 2021, he had been uploading videos going over tips and stuff going over the game's mechanics. Well, he eventually announced the release of what would be called Mario Kart Rebalanced, with custom made textures for items and tracks, and most importantly, all the stats in the game being rebalanced in order to make it more fair. Even all the karts and outside drifting bikes got changed to being inside drifting, so basically anything became a viable option in game with this. Custom tracks made in 2021, we got Beanstalk Castle by Love Life and T-Pose 024. Just a disclaimer, from here on out, every single custom track track is visually stunning, so I don't need to gush about that. Here the theme is awesome. We are in a sky with beanstalks. Northern Heights by Love Life and T-Pose024. We got one that draws heavily from World of Warcraft. I got no knowledge about that game, but I'll take the Wiki's word for it. I really like the inclusion of northern lights in the sky. Frigid Freezeway by ZPL. This quite literally is a frigid freezeway. Driving through the town section has such a dreary and isolated feeling, it's kinda cool. Aqua Dungeon by ZPL. I love the aqua blue color palette used with the dungeon aesthetic, it's awesome. Fungal Jungle by Taco Josh. One cool thing about this track is that it utilizes textures from a variety of games like Mario Party 9, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and Super Mario 3D World. Riparian Paradise by SPT. This track looks so good it's not even funny, like why do the tree models look so good? GBA Sunset Wilds by Flint. This makes playing the Booster Course DLC even more depressing because of how much cooler this is than whatever exists in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Celestial Speedway by Bugsy. Taking inspiration from Halogen Highway, this one has you zipping around a city setting in space, which is a joy. Coin Heaven by Taco Josh. Here we got a product spawning from a custom track jam, and this Parabeetle Paradise is a lovely setting for a Mario Kart track. Thumb Bump Forest by Square Turnbolt. The coloring on this haunted track is so cool looking, between the green poison water, orange hue of the sky, and the purple aura of the small cliff sides. Sandstone Cliffs by Citrus. I feel like this one is yelling at me to play the copy of Skyward Sword that has been sitting in my back catalog. Superstar Dystopia by Spy Kid. This literally feels exactly what I would imagine a dystopian space alien city would look like. Musical Cliff by Luca. I mean, it's a music-themed Mario Kart track, when has this ever not been amazing? GBA Broken Pier by XBlue98. Another track with a seizure warning on the wiki, the amount of work done with the animation and lighting is actually insane. Frantic Fun Yard by Sneaky. What in the actual f is going on here? We got cars driving around and just any other form of anarchy going on in this track, and it is beyond impressive. Super Marine World by Mr. Fluffy. And closing out 2021, we got a track that I now wish Nintendo would do something similar to, that being an aquarium themed track. I love driving both on the indoor and outdoor sections, it's a lot of fun. Now entering into the home stretch of the video, we got Melg and Raptor releasing the Skill Issues pack. This distribution features primarily difficult and irregular custom tracks, giving a spotlight to the work that doesn't really ever get a focus by bigger distributions like CTGP. These tracks are a really fun challenge to mess around with as opposed to a lot of the other stuff, so yeah, I had to throw this one in here. Also, I want to point out that the time trials have a feather mode, which I mean, if we're pointing out genius things that Nintendo could implement in the future, then here we go. Towards the end of 2022, the YouTuber Mayro, or well, Nuo Kart, worked on another prominent distribution that would come to be known as Mario Kart Midnight. Also, the following people on screen also helped significantly with the production of Mario Kart Midnight. Basically, Mario Kart Midnight is a celebration of custom tracks released between December of 2021 and November of 2022. There are also various other gameplay changes such as brake drifting, mega thunderclouds, drifting through off-road, and fast falling. The best way to put it is that Midnight is a yearly distribution aiming to highlight the best of the previous 12 months where the tracks are swapped out in bulk each year. Anyway, custom tracks 2022 time, let's go. Honeymoon Loom by Squire Turnbolt. This is based on the Moon Kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey, and for it being a conversion of a 3D Mario level into a Mario Kart track, it worked really well. Super Mario Galaxy Honey Hive Galaxy by They've All. Once again, another 3D Mario level converted masterfully into track form. We got the Honey Hive Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy. This makes me genuinely want to see more 3D levels reimagined in custom track form now. Alone and Incomplete by I Swear Chris. Coming from the more abstract and difficult variety of custom track, this one was really fun, especially on the first time playing it and experiencing it. Amanita Abyss by Brawlbox Gaming and Squire Turnbolt. This one kind of feels like if Mushroom Gorge became a poisonous and secluded area. It even has a wall ride shortcut which harkens back to the brokenness of Mushroom Gorge. Bowser Jr.'s Crafty Castle by Fufina and Shorky. This one is based on Paper Mario, and I love Paper Mario, so thank you for your services. Shy Guy Skies by Squire Turnbolt and Atmosphere. This one is kind of like Airship Fortress, but during daytime, and you got Shy Guys and Critters as obstacles. Not really sure what the critters are doing here, but hey, the track is great. Lumpy's Lively Lair by Mr. Fluffy. The characters all over the place are referred to as happy by the wiki, but I don't know, they were a little bit too f***ing happy for my liking. Jokes aside, track itself is great, although maybe a tiny bit creepy. Sticker Bush Serenity by Fufina. Another track that takes us up to the sky with beautiful visuals and fun dynamics going on. We also got plenty of Donkey Kong related decorations, which I like quite a bit. Area 64 by Squire Turnbolt. Okay, now this one is sick. Take taking place at an alien base, there is even a UFO that you drive over. Sniff It Station by Shorty and Bruh De La Boy. Another creation from a custom track jam, here we drive around a space station with a Sniff It theme, one of the most underrated and cool Mario characters too, by the way. Ice Cream Fortress by Citrus. I like ice cream as much as the next guy, so this track hits home for me. Also the theming around it's really cool. Lost Ruins by JorisMKW. Super stunning track that is themed around the Lost Woods from Breath of the Wild, and I do enjoy me some Zelda, so I love this one. Midnight Museum by Squire Turnbull. Takes place in a museum after closing. The vibe kind of reminds me of a Mario themed night at the museum movie or something like that. Mech Factory by TL and Coffee Toffee. As the name suggests, this one is much more of a scientific industrial factory-esque track, and I feel like we don't see a lot of these in custom track form, so this one was pretty fun. Tide Shift Town by Bladestorm 227. It's a nice town track in a Mario Kart, what's not to love. Poisonous Pass by Atmosphere and Shorty. Finally, we have another custom track jam track, this one carrying on the pretty visuals of a poisonous themed land. I like how the grass is actually pink with mushrooms everywhere too. And at last, this brings us to the final year left in our timeline, 2023. So where is the world of Mario Kart Wii modding at right now? This all brings us to the year 2023. The biggest thing that I want to point out from this year is the distribution Mario Kart Wii Deluxe by FJ Royer. Similarly to a lot of other distributions, we got a ton of cool features which helps set it apart. And do you want to know what else helps set it apart? 656 tracks. Yeah, and most of the tracks found in here are high quality too, and just like Retro Rewind, this has essentially every Nintendo retro track throughout Mario Kart history. The latest update for the pack came out here in 2023, so yeah, I just had to throw it in here. And now it is time to go through our final rundown of custom tracks. Let's see what we got here for 2023. Shy Guy Lumber Co. by Metabus. Honestly, I can totally see this being a top custom track of all time. This takes place as a Shy Guy lumber industry up in the mountains, and it is so pretty. It also plays great too. I love how you just got these little shy guys rafting down this waterway at the beginning. It's so awesome. Autumn Archipelago by Bugsy. I am a sucker for autumn themed tracks like Maple Treeway, and this one is absolutely nails. The Grand Archives by Metabus. Once again, another track with a great theme. Who could have thought that a library setting fits so well into Mario Kart form, but here we are. Cavern of Luminosity by Blue Batstar. Made for a custom track jam, this track features a ton of stalagmites and crystals in order to fill out the grim cave themed course. The Great Apple War by all of these people. The war between red and green apples is a timeless one. The answer is red, by the way, and converted into a Mario Kart track, it works out great. Fiery Factory Fading Frost by Cottony. I really like the juxtaposition of half the track taking place in a fiery Bowser's castle and the other half being a nice little Arctic wonderland. Magma Mine by Chutintosh. Here we got another custom track jam project, but this time it being themed around a Mario Party 9 board. Magma Caverns by Shorky. This one is also themed around the same Mario Party 9 board and was a custom track jam course, and I won't pick favorites, I like these both a lot. Mineshaft Raceway by Diego Vapey. Taking on a Minecraft theme, it was about time one of these gets brought up. It's Minecraft, what's not to love? Strobenz Desert Illusion by Strobenz. Yeah, here we got the already hectic Strobenz desert track and turned it into a Van Gogh painting gone mad, and I'm loving every bit of this. Bullet Bill Bluff by Atmosphere, Chuchintosh, and Mickey Man 713. Lots of windy turns and a nice lush aesthetic helped to propel this one to being one of the year's standouts. Jungle Fortress by Chutintosh. You drive around a big castle with a grassland jungle thing surrounding it, also once again a custom track jam track. Breeze Chill Citadel by Atmosphere. I feel like this is one of those tracks that you just know it's gonna be awesome from the name. I love how there is actually animated gust of wind over the bridges too. Hey, what's up, it's Mr. Dean. I was literally about to finish editing this entire video and I realized I completely forgot to mention Mario Kart Z by ZPL. It was released 6 days ago at the time of making this, so December 13th, 2023. Basically, it's like Retro Rewind, except instead of retro tracks, it's all original custom tracks, so link in the description to Mario Kart Z. Sorry ZPL, I almost completely forgot to throw that in there. And well, that is the history of Mario Kart Wii modding. Like I said at the beginning, there is bound to be stuff that didn't get mentioned. If there is, feel free to throw it into the comments. Also, CTGP did get several updates per year, mostly just changing up the roster of tracks slightly, and I didn't go over every single one since this video was already bloated enough with information. If you do go to the CTGP website, all of that is documented there as well, so if you find it interesting, then a link to the CTGP website will be be in the description. And finally, I want to once again give a massive thank you to everyone who helped make this video possible. I will have a link in the description to everyone who helped make this video, and well, with all that being said, thank you so much for watching to the end, and as always, peace out.